Have you ever wondered why religion, beyond being a matter of faith, has often shaped societies, politics, and even laws? Today, we're diving into the fascinating and sometimes controversial topic of religion as a tool of social control. From ancient empires to modern governments, religion has often been wielded not just for spiritual guidance, but as a powerful mechanism to influence masses, shape moral codes, and maintain order. Stay with me as we explore how religious structures have historically been intertwined with power and authority, and whether this influence still persists in our supposedly secular world today. Since the dawn of civilization, humans have sought answers to life's mysteries: birth, death, natural disasters, the stars. Religion offered explanations and comfort, but it also created structures that leaders quickly recognized as useful tools. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs were deemed gods, merging religious belief with political authority. In Mesopotamia, priests held immense power, controlling not just temples but societal laws. These early examples show how religion was intertwined with governance, legitimizing rulers and instilling obedience. By connecting divine will with leadership, dissent wasn't just rebellion, it was sacrilege. Over centuries, this symbiosis of faith and rule evolved, crafting laws, hierarchies, and social norms anchored in religious doctrine. Even today, echoes of these origins linger, reminding us how deeply intertwined belief systems are with the social fabric. Religion often steps beyond spirituality to define what is right and wrong. Think of the Ten Commandments, Islamic Sharia, or Hindu Dharma, all establishing moral frameworks that dictate personal and communal behavior. But these codes serve more than spiritual well-being. They regulate societies. Through fear of divine punishment or the promise of heavenly rewards, individuals are incentivized to follow rules. Leaders and institutions have long leveraged this moral authority to maintain social order. For example, medieval Christian Europe used concepts like sin and salvation to guide citizens' conduct, reinforcing loyalty and discouraging dissent. In many cultures, religious teachings determine laws regarding marriage, sexuality, business ethics, and even dietary habits. Such moral codes become internalized, shaping conscience and making people self-regulate. This power to mold individual behavior illustrates how religion acts as an invisible but potent social control mechanism. Rulers throughout history have used religion to legitimize their reigns and suppress opposition. The concept of divine right of kings declared monarchs chosen by God, making rebellion both a political crime and a spiritual sin. In Islamic caliphates, rulers were seen as both political leaders and religious guardians, blurring lines between mosque and state. Even in modern times, political figures invoke religious rhetoric to unite supporters or marginalize dissenters. Take Iran's theocratic system, where religious leaders hold supreme authority over both spiritual and governmental affairs. Or consider how US politicians often frame policies in moral and religious language to appeal to specific voter bases. Such intertwining of religion and politics ensures that authority feels divinely sanctioned, reducing resistance and fostering compliance. Religion thus becomes a tool not merely of faith, but of power consolidation. Religion can be a powerful force for social unity. Shared rituals, holidays, and beliefs create a sense of belonging and identity. In times of crisis, religious communities provide support, solace, and collective resilience. However, this same force can draw stark lines between us and them. Throughout history, religious identity has often fueled divisions, from the Crusades to sectarian conflicts in the Middle East. By defining who belongs and who doesn't, religion helps authorities maintain societal structures and sometimes justify exclusion or persecution. In modern societies, religious groups can become voting blocs or social movements, shaping public policy and societal norms. Whether uniting communities or dividing them, religion's role in social cohesion underscores its power as a tool of social control, influencing how people perceive themselves and others. Even in supposedly secular societies, religion's fingerprints remain visible. Legal systems, cultural norms, and public debates are often influenced by religious values. Issues like abortion, LGBTQ+ rights, and education frequently spark clashes between secular law and religious conviction. Moreover, religious institutions still wield significant influence through lobbying, media presence, and political endorsements. In some countries, laws remain based on religious doctrine, despite constitutional secularism. Meanwhile, religious symbolism persists in public life, from swearing oaths on holy texts to religious holidays embedded in national calendars. While modern societies champion freedom of belief, religion continues to shape societal boundaries, moral judgments, and even governmental policies. Recognizing this lingering influence is crucial to understanding how religion, despite declining over power in many places, remains a subtle but potent tool of social control today. Beyond texts and rituals, physical structures themselves are powerful tools of social control. Temples, mosques, churches, and shrines dominate city skylines, reminding communities daily of religious authority. These awe-inspiring buildings are designed to instill reverence and humility, often reflecting the grandeur and power of the institution behind them. Inside, sacred art and symbols convey narratives of obedience, sacrifice, and divine justice. Medieval cathedrals, for example, were constructed to overwhelm visitors, making them feel small in the face of divine power. Even urban planning in some historical cities centered around religious structures, ensuring that daily life revolved around faith. The presence of these monumental buildings reinforce a religious influence over the community's identity and serves as a constant, tangible reminder of the social and spiritual order imposed by religious institutions. Religious festivals serve more than spiritual or celebratory purposes. They reinforce collective identity and loyalty. Annual events like Ramadan, Easter, Diwali, or Hanukkah bring communities together, reaffirming shared beliefs and values. They also create repetitive patterns that condition society to synchronize its activities with religious calendars. Historically, rulers sponsored grand festivals to display piety and consolidate their legitimacy among the masses. Processions, rituals, and communal gatherings became spectacles of both faith and power. Governments still recognize the unifying force of these occasions, sometimes co-opting religious events for political messaging. These rituals reinforce social cohesion, reminding individuals that they are part of a greater, divinely sanctioned order and subtly embedding religious authority into the rhythm of everyday life. Education has long been a key arena for religious influence and social control. Monastic schools in medieval Europe preserved literacy but also ensured religious doctrine dominated the curriculum. In many countries, religious institutions still manage schools, where moral lessons intertwine with academic instruction. Religious texts become primary reading materials, shaping young minds and aligning them with doctrinal values. Even in secular states, debates continue over teaching evolution, sex education, and other subjects that conflict with religious beliefs. By controlling education, religious authorities influence the next generation's worldview, social values, and behavior. This shaping of knowledge and morality demonstrates how religion uses education as a potent instrument of social control, embedding its norms early and deeply into society. Religious teachings have historically dictated gender roles, often relegating women to subordinate positions and limiting personal freedoms. Many doctrines prescribe distinct duties for men and women, from family responsibilities to participation in public life. Islamic jurisprudence, Christian pastoral letters, Hindu texts, and other scriptures have all been interpreted to justify gender hierarchies. Such norms are reinforced through sermons, rituals, and community pressure, ensuring conformity. This control over gender relations extends into laws governing marriage, divorce, inheritance, and dress codes. While some religious groups advocate gender equality, traditional interpretations still maintain significant sway. Religion's influence on gender norms exemplifies how spiritual doctrines become instruments for regulating private and public aspects of human life, maintaining established social orders. Religion isn't just a spiritual or social force, it often wields enormous economic power. Throughout history, religious institutions have amassed wealth through donations, land ownership, and tithes. The medieval Catholic Church, for instance, was one of Europe's wealthiest landholders, influencing economic decisions and politics. Religious leaders have also used economic doctrines to control society, such as the medieval Christian ban on usury or Islamic prohibitions on interest. In modern times, religious organizations continue to exert financial influence through tax exemptions, charitable work, and large-scale fundraising. Their economic power enables them to support political candidates, fund media networks, and shape social agendas. Thus, religion's economic dimension becomes another avenue for social control, blending financial clout with moral authority to influence societies at every level. Religious legal systems have been among the oldest methods of regulating society. From Jewish halakha to Islamic sharia to Hindu dharmashastra, religious laws dictate personal conduct, family matters, business dealings, and even criminal punishment. In many societies, religious courts operate alongside civil courts, sometimes wielding considerable authority. These legal systems carry moral weight, persuading individuals to comply through fear of divine retribution. In places where religious law holds civil authority, such as parts of the Middle East, social control is overt and state-enforced. Even in secular nations, religious legal principles influence public debates and policymaking. Religious law's power to shape behavior, norms, and state policy underscores its enduring role as a mechanism of social control. Religions frequently use fear and guilt as tools to maintain control. Fear of divine punishment, eternal damnation, karma, bad reincarnation, is a powerful deterrent against disobedience. Guilt reinforces this, making individuals self-police their behavior even without external enforcement. Medieval Christianity's teachings on sin and confession kept believers under constant moral scrutiny. Similarly, karmic consequences in Hinduism and Buddhism encourage adherents to conform to societal norms. Such emotional manipulation can produce social stability but also psychological burdens, including anxiety and self-doubt. These internalized controls ensure that religious influence persists even without visible enforcement, demonstrating how religion manages societies not only externally through laws and rituals, but also internally through emotion and conscience. Religious figures often become influential social leaders, shaping community views on politics, morality, and social issues. Priests, imams, rabbis, monks, and gurus command respect and trust, giving their opinions significant weight. In many societies, political leaders consult religious authorities for endorsement or legitimacy. Charismatic figures can mobilize massive social movements, like Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement or Mahatma Gandhi during India's independence struggle. Yet, this influence can also be wielded for divisive or oppressive ends, as seen in cults or extremist sects. The capacity of religious leaders to sway hearts and minds makes them potent agents of social control, able to mold public opinion, inspire loyalty, or incite fear. Throughout history, religious institutions have censored ideas deemed dangerous to orthodoxy. The Catholic Church's Index Librum Prohibitorum listed banned books for centuries, stifling scientific and philosophical progress. In many societies, religious authorities still censor literature, films, and media they consider blasphemous or immoral. This censorship isn't limited to religious texts, but extends to art, music, and public discourse. By restricting access to certain ideas, religious institutions maintain doctrinal purity and social stability. Yet, this control often suppresses free thought and innovation. The tension between religious censorship and freedom of expression remains a significant issue, highlighting how religion continues to shape cultural landscapes and social norms through the control of information. Many nations integrate religious narratives into their national identities. For example, the notion of manifest destiny in the US justified westward expansion under divine sanction. Israel's modern identity is tied to biblical history. In Islamic countries, political movements often draw legitimacy from religious heritage. These narratives create a shared sense of destiny, unity, and moral purpose among citizens. However, they also fuel exclusionary nationalism, marginalizing those who don't fit the dominant religious identity. By blending national pride with religious narrative, governments can rally public support, justify policies, or suppress dissent. Religion's integration into national identity thus becomes a formidable tool for shaping social consciousness and political loyalty. Religious doctrines often glorify martyrdom and sacrifice, shaping how societies perceive suffering and loyalty. Christianity venerates saints and martyrs who died for their faith. Islam celebrates martyrs as those who earn paradise. Sikhism honors warriors who defended religious freedom. These narratives inspire individuals to endure hardship or even lay down their lives for their beliefs. Governments and religious leaders have historically exploited this to motivate soldiers, suppress rebellion, or justify political violence. Martyrdom becomes both a spiritual ideal and a political instrument, sustaining social control by channeling personal sacrifice into institutional objectives. This powerful emotional force demonstrates how religion can mobilize individuals for causes far beyond private faith. Religious symbols, crosses, crescents, stars, statues, sacred texts are visual shortcuts to profound ideas. They evoke emotions, memories, and loyalty. Governments and religious institutions deploy these symbols strategically to evoke unity and obedience. National flags often incorporate religious symbols, blending patriotism and faith. In public ceremonies, symbols are prominently displayed to reinforce authority and moral order. For many believers, these symbols provide comfort and meaning, yet they also serve as psychological anchors, reminding individuals of religious laws, moral codes, and collective identity. By embedding such symbols into public and private spaces, institutions subtly enforce social norms and hierarchies without overt coercion, exemplifying religion's nuanced methods of social control. Religious organizations often spearhead charitable works, earning gratitude and loyalty from communities. Feeding the poor, building hospitals, and disaster relief demonstrate compassion, but also deepen religious influence. Historically, churches, temples, and mosques provided social services absent from governments. This philanthropy reinforces the perception of religious institutions as essential pillars of society. However, charity can become a tool for soft power. Aid is sometimes conditional on religious conversion or adherence to specific doctrines. Political leaders collaborate with religious charities to gain credibility and voter support. Thus, religion's role in charity intertwines genuine compassion with strategic social influence, cementing its place as a force for both good deeds and subtle control. Religions often contain apocalyptic visions, warning of global destruction, divine judgment, or cosmic battles. Such narratives can induce fear and urgency, compelling individuals to adhere strictly to religious teachings. Throughout history, leaders have invoked these prophecies to rally followers, justify wars, or suppress dissent. The idea that salvation is tied to obedience strengthens social control. In modern times, some groups use apocalyptic rhetoric to isolate members from wider society, creating insular communities loyal only to their religious leaders. While these narratives can motivate positive change, such as environmental stewardship or social justice, they can also justify extreme actions or authoritarian rule. Apocalyptic themes thus remain potent tools for manipulating societies through fear and hope. Globalization has amplified religious influence across borders. Evangelical movements, Islamic Dawah, Buddhist missions, and Hindu cultural exports spread doctrines globally through media, social networks, and migration. Religious television channels broadcast sermons worldwide, while online platforms foster transnational religious communities. Governments sometimes leverage global religious connections to build diplomatic alliances or exert soft power. However, globalization also intensifies religious conflicts as diverse communities clash over beliefs. Religious ideologies now influence international politics, humanitarian policies, and social norms on a global scale. This interconnectedness ensures that religion remains a powerful tool of social control, no longer confined by geography, but operating on a worldwide stage. Rituals are core to religious practice and serve as powerful instruments of social control. Daily prayers, fasting, meditation, and ceremonial acts condition individuals to follow structured routines. Over time, these habits become second nature, guiding behavior even without conscious thought. Religious rituals often involve physical gestures, kneeling, bowing, chanting, that deepen emotional engagement and a sense of belonging. Participating in communal rites reinforces collective identity, reminding individuals they're part of a larger order governed by shared rules. Leaders exploit rituals to maintain group loyalty and discourage deviation. Even secular governments sometimes incorporate religious rituals into state ceremonies to evoke reverence and unity. By embedding practices into daily life, religion subtly molds individuals, ensuring conformity and loyalty through repetition and tradition. Throughout history, religion has held authority over health, healing, and medicine. Ancient priests acted as healers, combining spiritual rituals with rudimentary medicine. In many cultures, religious leaders still bless patients, prescribe spiritual cures, or interpret illnesses as divine punishment. Faith-healing services attract thousands, offering hope where conventional medicine fails. While such practices provide comfort, they also grant religious authorities power over life and death decisions. In extreme cases, individuals refuse medical treatment, relying solely on prayer, sometimes under community pressure. Religious views influence health policies on issues like contraception, abortion, and end-of-life care.